The Real Beyond Hollywood, February 26, 2025. The Rose Hotel stood as a weathered titan over Hollywood Boulevard, its Spanish colonial arches bathed in the frenetic glow of Oscar week. The air thrummed with anticipation. Red carpets unfurled like crimson veins, paparazzi swarmed like locusts, and stars polished their personas for the 97th Academy Awards, set to unfold in 3 days at the Doll Theater. Beneath the glitz, though, a heavier current pulsed through the hotel's corridors, thick with whispers of restless spirits and buried sins. Emma Greene checked into room 928, her press pass a flimsy shield for her true mission. Officially, she was a journalist for the Chronicle, tasked with a glossy feature on the awards. Unofficially, she hunted the paranormal legends that clung to the Rose. Montgomery Clift's mournful bugle, Marilyn Monroe's mirrored silhouette, and a darker thread she sensed beneath the surface, a scandal waiting to be unearthed. Emma wasn't cut from the cloth of typical reporters. Raised in a quiet Illinois town where cornfields stretched into oblivion, she'd grown up poring over faded photoplay magazines with her sister Clara, their dreams of Hollywood blooming under a gnarled oak. Clara, 4 years older, had been the dreamer, her brown eyes alight with visions of stardom, her laughter a melody Emma clung to. "You'll dig up the dirt, Em," she teased, "while I steal the spotlight." But at 19, Clara was gone, killed by a hit-and-run driver on a rain-slicked road, leaving 16-year-old Emma with a void and a question. Why had the case gone cold? That loss forged her, driving her into journalism to unearth truths others buried. Now, at 34, the Rose was her crucible, a chance to confront the ghosts of fame, and, perhaps her own. The lobby was a maelstrom of Oscar fervor. Actresses in sequin gowns sipped martinis, their laughter sharp as shards. Directors swapped war stories over cigars, smoke curling like specters. Producers circled like sharks, their deals cloaked in whispers. Emma stood apart, her navy blazer and notepad a quiet rebellion against the shimmer. She tilted her head, studying the chandelier, a cascade of crystals scattering light into fleeting shadows that writhed across the marble floor. The hotel's myths were legion. Clift, restless in room 928, his bugle a mournful echo from his stay in 1953. Monroe, her reflection haunting a basement mirror from suite 1200. But it was the whispers of lost girls, starlets lured by promises, swallowed by the industry's underbelly, that gripped Emma. She'd come to chase their stories, to give them voice. Room 928 was a relic, floral bedspread fraying at the edges, a brass lamp casting a jaundiced glow, the Hollywood sign hazy through the window. She unpacked her recorder, laptop, and a worn photo of Clara, her sister's smile, a quiet anchor. The halls beckoned, and she wandered, tracing the Rose's history and its decor. Sepia photos lined the walls. Clara Bow and Douglas Fairbanks at the first Oscars in 1929, held in the Blossom Room, their grins fragile as if they sensed the price of their glory. A sudden draft brushed her neck, raising goosebumps. She dismissed it as the building's age, but the chill lingered, a subtle prod. Sleep eluded her that first night. At 2:47 a.m., a bugle's wail pierced the silence, not distant but close, vibrating through the walls. Emma bolted upright, heart pounding, fumbling for the lamp. Her breath fogged in the frigid air, and her eyes caught a flicker by the window. A girl, no older than 16, her translucent form clad in a 1960s shift dress, blonde curls framing a face etched with sorrow. The girl's gaze pierced Emma's, a silent plea shimmering in her depths, before she dissolved into shadow. Emma's pulse thundered. Jet lag, she muttered, but the lie crumbled as the cold tightened its grip. Morning found her in the hotel's library, a dim haven of leather tomes and yellowed clippings. The roses past spilled forth, a glittering nexus for the golden age, its blossom room hosting the inaugural Oscars, its suites cradling the elite. Yet darker strands wove through, tabloid hints of secret parties in the 1950s and 60s, studio moguls, politicians, and rogue FBI agents exploiting girls too naive to fight, their vanishings dismissed as overdoses or whims. It echoed modern scandals, Epstein's list of predators, but older, more entrenched, a cancer born with Hollywood itself. Emma's pen raced, her hands trembling with the thrill of the hunt. Her first lead came from Eddie, a bellhop whose 50 years at the Rose had carved his face into a labyrinth of wrinkles. She caught him by the lobby's brass elevator, his rag polishing in slow arcs. "Heard about the hauntings?" she asked, tone light. Eddie's eyes flicked up, guarded. "Folks see things," he rasped. Girls, mostly. Came for fame. Big shots promised him everything. Some never checked out." His gaze darted as Tom. The night manager strode past, his suit a crisp warning. Eddie shuffled off, but his words ignited Emma's resolve. Later, in the kitchen's clatter, Eddie sought her out, his voice a whisper over her coffee. "I was young, 63 maybe. Heard screams one night, down below. Should have spoken up, but fear's a hell of a gag." His eyes glistened with regret, and Emma nodded, her mission sharpening. She pressed Tom next, cornering him in his office, a cluttered den of ledgers and a flickering bulb. Lean and sharp-featured, he deflected with a salesman's smirk. "A ghost's. Guests love the spooky shtick. Keeps us full." His fingers tapped a restless rhythm, and when she mentioned a girl's disappearing, his grin twitched. "No idea what you mean," he snapped, too fast. Emma left with suspicions blooming. That afternoon, she shadowed Tom through the lobby, her recorder tucked away. He slipped into a service corridor, speaking in hushed tones on his phone. "Keep it quiet. Friday, same spot." She lingered, unseen, as he met a slick-haired producer. Their handshake too firm, their smiles too tight. The producer's name nagged at her. J.R., a studio head she'd seen in old clippings. Her gut twisted. Something was brewing, tied to the Oscars. That night, the shower offered no solace. Steam clouded the bathroom mirror, and words emerged. "Help me. Help me." Emma froze, breath hitching. She wiped the glass, but the plea persisted, faint and desperate. "Oh, who are you?" she murmured. The lights buzzed, and the girl reappeared in the reflection, pointing downward, her stare fierce, before vanishing. A low bugle note drifted from the hall, mournful and deliberate, urging her on. Emma returned to the library, fueled by caffeine and compulsion. A 1963 clipping halted her. A Lily Monroe, rising star found dead at Rose, Lily, 16, had been a studio in Gaynu, her platinum curls and doe eyes hyped as NX Marilyn. The coroner called it suicide, hinted at murder. But a scandal sheet hinted at murder. A cover-up tied to a hotel revelry. A photo showed Lily with Marilyn at a Rose event, the older star's arm protective, their smiles strained. Digging deeper, Emma found a pattern. Starlets vanishing post-audition, their names scrubbed by cash or coercion. She cross-referenced with the Los Angeles County Archives online, unearthing a dusty police report from '63. A maid had seen Lily with important meanie hours before her death, but the case was shelved. The next day, a man in a dark suit shadowed her through the lobby, his presence a quiet menace. By dusk, he cornered her near the concierge desk, flashing a badge. "Agent Harris, FBI," he said, voice clipped. "Miss Greene, you're stirring trouble. Drop it, or you'll wish you had." His smile was a blade, his eyes ice. Emma's stomach knotted. The FBI didn't hound reporters over spooks. This was visceral, ugly, real. Thursday night, the bugle returned, insistent, pulling her from bed, barefoot. She traced it down a service hall, her phone's light cutting the gloom. A scarred panel, a false wall, yielded to her letter opener, revealing a staircase spiraling into darkness. Her breaths echoed as she descended, the air thick with mildew and memory. A warped door opened to a forgotten chamber, velvet curtains rotted, champagne flutes shattered, Polaroids scattered, girls in party dresses, faces too young, eyes hollow with terror. A desk drawer held a ledger, its entries a litany of corruption. Studio head J.R., 1961, $5. Senator K. 1962, favor. Agent P. 1963, cleanup, producer T. 2023, ongoing. Emma's hands shook as she bagged it, nausea rising. Clift's bugle wailed faintly above. A spectral sentinel. In her room, a note waited beneath her pillow, aged in Marilyn script. Lily, beware the wolves in sheep's clothing. They'll devour you. I tried to stop them, but they're too strong. July 62. The handwriting quavered, a posthumous lament. Emma's throat tightened. Marilyn had seen the predators, feared for Lily, and borne that failure beyond the grave. Friday, Oscar Eve, dawned, electric. Oscar. Emma slipped into a pre-Oscar press event, recorder hidden, ears sharp. J.R., the producer, laughed too heartily. A senator, K.S. son, perhaps, fidgeted with his cufflinks. An actress, T.S. wife, smiled with icy poise. Names from the ledger, alive and thriving. She caught a whisper. A party's tonight, same room. Keep it hushed. The evil hadn't died. It festered, cloaked in tuxedos. She tailed J.R. to the service hall, hiding behind a cart as he unlocked a door, revealing a modern setup. Velvet refreshed, champagne chilling, young faces peering from shadows. Her recorder caught his growl. Same as 63 clean, quiet hours. She raced to her room, drafting her exposé when Harris burst in, gun gleaming. Stop, he snarled. You're finished. A gust impossible indoors slammed the door, light strobing. Clift's bugle blared, and Harris stumbled, swearing, as Emma fled, ledger clutched tight. She darted through the crowded lobby, Oscar guests oblivious, Harris gaining. A stairwell offered escape, but he cornered her on the 9th floor, breath hot. No one'll believe you, he hissed. The air thickened, and Lily materialized, solid, her dress torn, her eyes afire, by Clift, his trumpet a piercing cry. Harris froze, gun trembling, as Emma bolted past. In the basement by Monroe's mirror, she stopped. It glowed, and Lily emerged again, the glass flaring into a vision. Lily dragged into the hidden room. Men leering, a hand forcing pills as she choked. Marilyn pleading with a shadowy figure, rebuffed. Rogue FBI agents torching files, pocketing bribes, sealing the lie, Harris among them, younger but unmistakable. Emma sobbed, rage and grief entwined. I'll tell it, she vowed. Lily nodded, and the mirror exploded, shards nicking Emma's cheek, but sparing her life. Harris's shouts echoed as she ran, uploading her story from a diner's Wi-Fi, photos, ledger, Marilyn's note. The complicity. Oscar night glittered on TV as her exposé detonated online. Hollywood's darkest secret, decades of abuse, agencies' collusion. The doll theater's luster faded under protests, arrests rippling outward. Emma returned to room 928, exhausted but resolute. Lily stood by the window, her form softening into light, Clift beside her, his bugle silent. They smiled, gratitude. Release, then faded. The hotel exhaled, its ghosts laid to rest. Weeks later, Emma stood at Lily's unmarked grave, a daisy in hand. Her story had rattled the industry, J.R., the senator, Harris in cuffs, but the toll lingered in her bones. Ear free, she whispered, Clara's photo tucked in her pocket, the weight of the lost hers to carry no more.